we join back in. Should we say, so from the reports, the guards are saying they got there quite late.
Yeah.
We have looked at um the bodies that were recovered, and it seems some are dead but still appear very infected. And we well, no, actually, sorry, they wouldn't have been able to recover them because Dante
They
burned them.
got burned to
They
bits.
she would say the guards reported that Dante burned the infected dead. We only recovered one dead person who was not infected at all, and obviously you brought us Tabitha. We are discovering more, and I need to know from yourselves, as the bodies were burned, the guards didn't have very good descriptions. We know that one of them was a research team,
Yeah.
as from their effects. The others, were they scientists, majors?
No, there were a couple of teenagers that I'd seen messing around, really. I think they'd got some kind of a board and stuck a Zikar crystal to the bottom of it, and they were using it to sort of float around the city and cause a bit of mayhem. But yeah, just kids. I mean,
Would you? So, I mean, I think I know the group you are talking about, but they look like they don't live. They live in poverty from how they
yes.
it appears. That could be the catacombs. Um,
I wanted to. I'm gonna. Is there anyone else in earshot of us?
I mean, there's people around, but they're not listening as such. They're sort of moving around and here, but there are people in the room.
Okay. So I'm gonna say I can definitely tell you something about how I think this disease is being spread and the what the end state of this is. Um, there is some other information I feel you might want to know, but I'd rather tell you that in private. Um,
They nod and will motion to their. You would have to leave this room to sort of exit out and go to their
yeah.
private thing because it's not near their office.
Mm,
It's like a separate thing. But they would say, by all means, they would turn and say, uh, brother Angar, could you please find Lythander. He said he was doing some work. Ask him to come to my office, please. And he will turn, and as he's walking, obviously, because there's a bit of a walk, they will
mm,
talk about. They'll sort of start talking about Lythander and this other thing as they're waiting for the moment of private. And
yeah.
they say, one of our priests does some work down with the catacombs. I don't know if you. Most visitors don't ever see that part of the city. You might have noticed there is, besides the occasional ones you see out in the streets, we don't have people sleeping on the streets. We don't, and
No.
you will, as you think about it, you've seen people that definitely are a bit rough and ready. You've
We've not really
seen
seen any homeless.
you don't see them. They're not
No.
out on the streets, although you see actions that suggest it. And even the same for like the dog that you found that was living on the streets. You've not seen it. You've not seen animals sleeping up on the
Mm,
street level. And they, it is, one of the things that we do not particularly like about the city. But in its original creation, there was no thought for those who could not contribute, could not pave their way. As the city developed through war and other such things, those things happen, right? For example, one of the districts was destroyed during a fight during the War of Buck and Cloth that made many people homeless overnight. And our home, we under the city, there are catacombs just before. And they will actually sort of, as they get into their office, and they will show you. If you imagine that, obviously, and I'll rough draw this and we can get rid of it afterwards.
yeah.
Obviously, you've got like mines, right, on
Hmm.
this side. And these mines probably extend underneath, right? And probably that
Right.
whole section. Under this shelf,
Mm.
there are catacombs
Okay.
that were originally in the original building of the city where the actual catacombs were going to be, where they were going to entomb their dead.
Yeah.
And during that time of the War of Book and Cloth, at first it was like a temporary refugee housing, or like people who had been made homeless were sort of they went down, they used magic to clear it and clean it and alter some of the rooms, and they made it
Mm.
livable.
Yeah.
And afterwards, some people just kept living down there.
Okay. Um, that's quite worrying. Um, so from what I saw, this infection is spread by touch. Um, the creatures that attacked us in the mines, in the crevasse,
Mhm.
they they did attempt to damage us, but actually they were just trying to touch our skin. I saw Tabitha get infected. Um, there were a number of them just all surrounding her. It's like they were drawn to her. Once they thought they'd infected her, actually they left her alone. Um, and the infection was obvious immediately.
Mm.
Within within seconds, she was starting to feel weak. She started to sweat. I know that
That
we were
is
under pressure, but
that is
it
very
was
different to the
quick.
ones we have encountered. As
Well,
in, Joe has developed over a number of days and weeks, and our newest patients, they are called Ava. Um, they were found by one of our priests a few days ago, and as you see, it is not developing quickly.
these creatures were in a really advanced stage of infection. They were almost, I'm going to use the word grotesque. They were um, completely covered in the infection, much more advanced than Joe is now. Um, and they seemed mad, like they weren't
And
themselves. I did see at one point when we were fighting, one of them seemed to recover himself briefly, and then it just overtook him again. It's like he suddenly remembered who he was and seemed confused and didn't know what he was doing there, and then just turned back into a crazy person again. Um, so it feels like
and
definitely
and on
maybe it's
Tabitha, was
who's
it
infecting them.
when Tabitha was infected? It was quicker, yes, but did it advance to the final stage immediately? Was it?
It didn't get anywhere near the final stage. Um,
What you
and
will remember thinking back, though, it was quickly, like every
it
round
was
it was
very quick.
getting worse.
Yeah,
She just never made it there.
that's what I
So
mean.
I would
So
say that you would estimate, though, because obviously rounds feel a lot longer, but you would estimate that she would probably have been fully covered within 2 minutes.
well, the other guy though that was infected,
He was instant,
I
6 seconds.
he was really, really quick, wasn't he? But was that the golem that touched him?
The golem subsumed him completely in the goo.
Right, okay.
So when the ones that were immediate infect,
Yeah.
they was fully sucked into the golem and spat
Mm.
out infected. Um, the one
So
for
I would tell her
Tabitha, she
that.
was touched, and then you would
Yeah.
guess just over the time frame you saw, because you saw that in
It was
about
only two,
30
three rounds before we
within about
fixed it.
18 seconds, but her entire leg covered in 18
Yeah.
seconds. So you would guess that a minute or so would have probably fully covered her.
And I think that's what I was going to say about Tabitha was that actually we stopped it quickly enough to stop it going
Mm.
too far. But yeah, Emma had forgotten about the golem subsuming them. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would tell
And
Arcanair that.
they would. It is interesting. I agree. Maybe it is about the source. Potentially, I am wondering whether those that are being infected at a slower rate are only coming into airborne or even minor contact rather than. I'm
Or
not sure.
maybe, or
Because those
maybe
priests that have worked on them have not become infected either. And you, have any of you experienced symptoms? You have been around Volu.
I
Is Volu okay?
Volu seems fine. I was touched and had a moment of, I don't know, like it something was trying to take hold and I managed to shrug it off. I mean, I'm happy for you to check me over if you like, but it was definitely by touch. It was definitely touch that did it. The thing that I wanted to speak to you about though is that we noticed that fire and a specific type of fire seemed to halt the infection. When we were fighting the golem, we were fighting it to stop it, and we knew if that meant killing it, that's what we would do. Actually, we were almost healing it of the infection while we were fighting it. And in the
This
end, it stopped and walked away and was not infected anymore. I'm not sure it would have attacked everybody the way that it did if it hadn't have been infected.
um when you sort of start talking about the golem, she's like, could you do you know what the material was? Could you tell
It,
what
it
it was
looked
made from?
like it looked like crystals or gems. It looked hard, but I mean, what did I can't remember what color you said it was, Liam, without the
It was sort of like a dull blue, sort of. It reminded you
yeah.
of non-enchanted Zikar.
Yeah, so yeah, again, I would say that, but it looked like a natural forming crystal. The infection seemed to melt the crystal somehow and make it gelatinous. Um, and as we
They
healed the infection, that then hardened back into the crystal form again.
they will sort of move some stuff on their desk and they sort of push over to you a very old. So if you imagine like it's a scroll, there is bits of it dusted and torn, and
Yeah.
it's ancient and wasn't cared for, right? Like
Okay.
it's but that combination. And the writing is illegible. It's all too faded.
Okay.
But there is a sketch of the upper half of a crystal golem.
If it looks like it, I would say that's it.
I would say so. As you're looking, it looks like it without the engravings. It's almost like smooth crystal.
Okay.
This drawing of it is.
So it had some kind of engraving on it that glowed. Um,
What is
And I
interesting
think it
is
spoke, didn't it? But we couldn't understand the language.
that,
Didn't
yeah.
it say something?
Well, it was mumbling the whole time.
Like it was praying.
Um, hmm, she, I do not know exactly how it is linked, but this was what the researchers were researching.
Oh.
Potentially, I can write you a letter with, um,
So do you
maybe
think
with the
they infected it? Do you think they found it and infected it and they were already
I do not know, but I don't know enough about the project. I was only informed by Professor where is it Twining? Literally Twining.
hmm
So Professor Twining from the academy that they were. This is what they were had been sent to research. They hadn't been heard from for maybe a month.
and where had they
Um,
gone to research it?
Under the city, they will sort of say,
Mm.
you have to understand that the city has grown upon grown upon grown upon grown. We are all very aware that there is masses of tunnels and different things under the mountain.
Why am I
There,
feeling like the one thing that I can't even watch on television? Like, why am I feeling like we've got a zombie apocalypse on the way underneath the city that, that no one actually knows about?
It's
Don't worry,
also
we're going to leave.
it's
Mm.
also the whole like the way specifically this infection is like targeting specific things. It feels very World War Z zombies as well, of like,
Mm.
oh, that's that thing over there that has another like thing wrong with it. Well, we're not going to infect that. We want these like the
Yeah.
good things. And it's like, ooh, I don't like it.
I couldn't even get through the first episode of Walking Dead, guys. Right? So this is like I
Liam
feel like
loves
Liam. I
talking
feel like
horror. He's
Liam's
like,
targeting me
how
here.
can I make these guys
I would
cringe
Yeah.
and
never do
just like,
that.
cool, I'm gonna make skin
Although,
crawl.
to be fair, I have noticed that and this is not purposeful, my habit for like dark and grotesque is that sort of zombie vibe. Because even the fiery things from Ravis were very similar to
I
that.
did get through
Yeah.
28 weeks later and then had
Yeah, and that's
flashbacks
worse than
about it.
Walking Dead.
No, I
That
know,
is
but I
worse.
literally had flashbacks about that
Um,
film. But anyway, so
but yeah,
yeah,
so
and I would sort of get to a point where I would
they,
hesitate and I
they
would
would
be
say
thinking,
now. Obviously, I need to ask you about how you were able to cure Tabitha, but I am also wondering whether it might be worth talking to Professor Twining about exactly where. He did not give me a specific, he just said under the city. Now, that is a very, very large space, but if we could find out where they were digging, it might be close to the mines, and maybe we can. Maybe there is. I am worried that what is already in the city will spread too far.
I I think as well as that, and I hate to say this, but I think somebody needs to go into the catacombs and check. What if everybody down there is infected and what we're seeing is just the people who've come out?
That is why I'm hoping to hear from Lythander is not a brother, a cleric. They are our contact, our middleman, if that makes sense. We sell them
Okay,
the necessary medical supplies for people who live down there.
okay.
I'm hoping that they will return with okay news, but
What did Tabitha tell you?
I mean, she definitely said fire seemed to work, but also she said that she was hallucinating towards the end of that fight. Um, she One of the things we are trying to put together and why I wanted to hear from you as well, and she will show you. Tabitha sort of wrote a bit of a
Like a statement.
statement almost. Um, from what you read, the figures of people around were starting to blur into no detail.
Okay.
So she even talked in the statement about when Eleni was talking about burning her, and especially when Eleni drew the arrow in her direction, she saw a completely black silhouette draw an arrow at her.
Okay.
And that almost at the point she clears up and blacked out, she was almost getting ready to fight her way out of that. Like she felt trapped. She felt like she didn't know where she was and she had to fight. Um,
Okay. Um, I had noticed that fire seemed to have more of an effect than anything else. And we all had various effects and spells on our weapons because of the race and because
and
of what we'd been
she will
doing.
point at the statement and say, but she said firebolts didn't seem to work.
No, that was the first thing I tried. So when I got her away from the creatures, first of all, I told her that she needed to burn the infection out, and I don't have any fire magic, so I asked her to do that, and she trusted me amazingly and did so, but that didn't work. I had an effect on my bow for doing the race, and that created what looks like fire but has a different source. When I when I cauterized her wounds with my bow, that that was what worked. Now, I need this to stay between us, please. I know this is important, but it is a magic that one of the people in my group is able to do. And I know that we want to help as many people as possible, but we need to find a way of doing that without that person becoming
You would see they
trapped or
think, and
hunted or
they do at first sort of like confused, like, is Volu, is None of my
It's
magics have
not my
worked.
it's not my story to tell. I'm sure that if we
Mm.
it's not my magic. And there is a danger in this person overusing that type of magic. If we can find some other way of stopping this, I think that would be preferable. Or we need to find a way of generating that magic in another way so that you're not reliant on any of us. And I'm sorry, and I know that's cryptic, and I do trust you, but
I understand. This is not yours. I would ask that you pass on the message to whoever it is that there are a few people still infected. We really could do with. I am worried what we will find in the catacombs, but
me
for
too.
now, let me wait upon Lythander's message. I will contact you if there is anything urgent.
Is there going to be any kind of communication to the city at large, or are you only spreading the word amongst guards and clerics at the moment?
Well, it was just guards and clerics. I'll be honest. During this conversation, I have agreed. If we find negative results in the catacombs, I am going to be suggesting to Savolkov that we maybe start to implement a bit of a curfew within the city, or even at least closing off the mines and access to the underground areas.
There is
Um,
also oh, sorry, a Knight of the Order of the Iris. Is that right? Yeah.
yes, Sir Arthur Grant. We are aware
Yes.
of him, though he has not been in the city for a few days. We did
He's
speak to him when
due
he
to
went
come
through.
back in a couple of days, and perhaps he may also be able to help.
I'll be honest, I doubt it. The Order are not known for their healing mercy, let's say. And I'd say that your insight would definitely pick up that they work with him,
Hmm.
but they wouldn't trust him.
Interesting. Okay.
And then again, they don't say much more, but they're very much just like,
Does she know that Ichi is of that order? I can't remember if we've actually ever said, have we?
yeah, yeah. But also, as she is, as you have become, as each has said, that
Yeah.
order is very fractured in general.
Mm, okay.
So it is different. And I would say you pick up on that on the insight. She definitely says the order aren't known for their mercy,
Yes.
but you get the insight feel that she's specifically thinking about Arthur in that moment, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
again, she is also aware that she might meet one that is from a different order that acts
Yeah.
completely differently and has in Ichi. A lot of people have met Ichi and it's like, oh, he's just from a
Yeah.
different group, or
Oh, you're not a dickhead.
yeah.
Yeah. What I would say before I leave, I would tell her also about the Zorn and the fact that they weren't infected and that they were running from the golem. So I will sort of say that
Were
that,
any
that
of your
they
other
came through first.
members touched and not infected?
I can't remember. It was
I think Eleni, you would
I
remember see
was,
because you saw Volu go down.
but I didn't know if he'd been
He got
touched
hit
as
by
in
a
they tried to
glue. He got hit by a slime blob.
right.
But also he was touched during the fight.
But would I have seen that? Because I wasn't anywhere near him for most of that fight.
Let's roll a d100.
We
We'll
were, I was
say
going to say, we were
let
a good 30, 40 feet
roll
apart,
a
I think, for
roll a
most of that.
d100. We'll call it under 30. You saw it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
yeah. So
yeah,
as you're thinking it through, you do remember that moment when Volu was like it was when they first rushed up to Volu in the beginning,
yeah.
and they did seem to get hands to.
So I would say that, but I would say it seemed to be, it seemed that some of us were able to resist, and that Tabitha was just maybe unlucky, or she was already injured, I think.
She smiles. She said, I don't believe in luck, my dear. There is. You need to find out how you are linked and how you link to Zorn. I will think on it some more. Talk to Volu. If you have any similarities, anything that might be, there has to be something.
I would smile a little bit and I would say, we both have a connection to Astera. And I would allow a couple of my moths to come out perhaps and flutter over.
That could be a thought, but then are the Zorn? As far as I'm aware, Zorn are from the
I don't
plane
think
of
I know anything
Earth.
about a Zorn, do
You
I?
don't, but
No.
they would say Zorn are from the plane of Earth. They are Earth elementals, for want of a better word. They're not quite the full rock formed creature, but very similar in nature. I was
I
wondering.
don't know. I assumed that they had managed to run. They were much quicker than we were, and that they managed to get out of the way.
It is possible they were just faster than the creature.
Although it was
Well,
quite fast.
they
I'll
can
ask
dig,
Volu.
however. Maybe they avoided the golem through the ground and kept at bay. But definitely think on it. I will do some research and I will let you know what I find out about the catacombs.
Thank you.
And
I think we're hoping
thank you
to,
for telling us what you can.
and if I can tell you more, I will. We're still at the Rusty Bucket. I think we plan to have an easy night and get some rest. But yes, please let me know if there's anything else that we can do.
They're not. They will sort of take you out, and as you guys are exiting, so you sort of have to exit. If you remember from last time, you exit the corridor that Arcane's office is on into the main chapel. So it's almost like if you imagine there's the central like pews and actual chapel bit, and then there's wings off the left and right. So his is up off the right, and the room they're using is off the left. So as you're sort of exiting, they walk you all the way to the door, right? Like because it's almost on their way. But as you're walking up, you see two priests bringing in Brother Theo on a stretcher, currently infected on the hands. And as they see that, you would see Arcane's face drop as they, Theo, I must go. I will let you know what I found out, and they begin moving through.
Okay, I would just hurry then off back towards the Rusty Bucket, and
Okay.
I'd probably go down the stairs, to be honest, that way.
Okay. But yes, I'm going to jump back over to Dante, Volu, and Ichi, who you arrive at the Rusty Bucket. This area of the city is a bit busier, and again, if you are not moving stealthily as such, there are people approaching, there are people talking to you, people are trying to get things signed, people are trying, a few people have sort of gone like, oh, what are you going to ask for? Like, sort of that they're interested in what's going on. Dante's just been storming through people. And as you arrive into the Rusty Bucket, there is a little bit of a crowd in here because you actually know you didn't. Again, you actually have been validated. There is a bit of a crowd, but not as much as it could have been due to the fact most people think he's staying at the Bloody Banner. Or at least think the Chaotic Embers are staying at the Bloody Banner. There are people in here expecting your arrival, and your insights will pick up as you arrive, and Dana and Alara in here, and as they notice you come in, you notice that Dana sort of like uncorks these like fizzy bottles that little fireworks up into the air as and there's like you see Alara's kids hold up this like banner that says chaotic embers, and people are cheering and shouting and they are mobbing you a bit. Now, Dante, are you still trying to just push past?
Yep.
I am going to actually ask for a strength here, as you are at. Whereas in the street, people were, approaching but not trying to like block you. You're in a closed room with maybe 30, 40 people, and they are all trying to talk and touch and be close to the winners of the Doomhakre.
Yeah. Just seeing.
What are the other two doing just while Dante's doing that role? Are you just going with it? I mean, I imagine Volu's crowd surfing by this point.
He's like, yeah, he's enjoying it. He starts kind of like letting people guide him where he needs to be. He'll try and make his way over to Alara at some point.
And well, to be honest, Alara would start making their way. They're like, move out the way, move, clear some space. Go on, Dante. What did you?
Can I haven't rolled, but can I get advantage by using my telekinesis to help me?
Yeah, I will allow that. I'll say that's not a standard going for you. Like like it's not really.
Yeah, just in this instance, it's kind of like just a fuck off.
Yeah, allowed.
So what am I doing in athletics?
Athletics at advantage.
Yep, day 20.
Okay, so you can see that like almost Dante, you're having to do that like, and for people that might have been to concerts and gigs, like almost where you like press up against until they slip enough past, and then you force into that space, and you are doing it like step by step as almost people are again they're just trying to like touch your armor, see you. They're like, look, somebody like comes up, are those scars from the fire on the car? That was so cool, but didn't it hurt you? Like
if anyone goes to touch the scars on my arm, I'm gonna shout.
No one goes to touch the scars, but people are trying to touch your armor. People are trying to sort of touch your sword and stuff. And it's not, again, there's no grabbing. It's almost like open hand, like, oh, I got finger. I touched them. Like that sort of vibe.
Can I just have a perception? I mean, why bother? But
you can roll
have a perception just to make sure no one's trying to like pinch something.
Yeah,
like
you can definitely drop that.
Alara, natural 20.
Okay. You find for the I'm gonna whisper something to you. No one's trying to nick anything, but you do notice something. You do manage to make your way through the crowd as Alara turns up and does start clearing people. They bring you over to a booth that's like separated and has been kept clear, and you can see there's already food and drinks prepared. As they're like, this party begins in honor of the chaotic embers, and you would see that they've hired a small band that starts playing in the corner. And a bit of a party begins very quickly. So Volu and so Volu, you're sort of going with, and Guy, Ichi, how are you reacting to this? You would see Dante pushing his way through and past.
I think Ichi's more like nonchalant. Like it's not like they're not loving it and they're not hating it. It's just kind of like as a paladin of an order that is very much viewed as like dead and scattered and non-existent, Ichi's not used to being like talk of the town, so it's just kind of like oh sure, if someone comes over and it's like, oh, you like all of your people fell off the car but you drove it all the way, each would just be like, yeah, it was terrifying. Like that was the first time I've ever got behind the wheel of one of those. It was not fun. Like like there is no glamorization. They are just like, man, this is how it was.
Yeah. Facts without the horror facts, but like the facts of the race. Like we couldn't believe we were in the front.
Like we thought we were going to be chasing tails from the beginning, but lo and behold, here we were.
Well, I mean, literally, most people were taken out by like in the first part of the race. You did we cannons fight that boomhammer vehicle was crazy, and like it is just like people are just, it's still a buzz, and it is that sort of again. And I've been watching a few things from like the whole like Roman Colosseum times and stuff, and it is just that sense of people people have been going through not like a especially hard time, but you, especially as somebody who's from Versil, Ichi, the last few years it's been sort of stagnant. Not a lot has happened, not a lot has changed, and people had the grumblings have started. Obviously, there was with the rise of the smoke engine and that sort of class challenge that sort of began to rise. But there is a dispersion of all that as people from different walks of life are mixing and talking, and there's definitely that, release of public pressure through live entertainment of this kind. And I think you would really, I'd say from as someone from here, Ichi, you would especially notice that. Like everyone's a lot more relaxed, a lot more calm, seems a lot more friendly. What would Dante? Are you?
I've messaged back.
Are you? Where are you going? Are you stopping in the middle? Are you going to? You obviously you can see the booth that they've been guided to. Most of the people now are like around the booth. They're not as much focused on you.
Is there
having
like, are there like stairs that go up?
In the top corner, so that's where you would head to go up to the.
Is there like is it like a balcony up there or anything like that?
It don't. No, it just
Or
goes
landing?
straight. No, it just goes straight up. There's this first few steps up. You can still you can see the bar for most. It's like open staircase up, but once you're up, it's a corridor.
I will go a few steps. I'm gonna go like halfway up the stairs or whatever, and then just kind of stand, just watching over, just the bar and people in it, and
Yeah, I know.
looking for
I've seen
people.
it. I've seen it. Yeah. How are the you two? Because obviously, I mean, Volu's always down to eat, but how are you? Are you just gonna again join in the festivities and go along?
Saying this is more direct for other people because but as soon as there's food there, I'll be like sat down. I'll carry on talking.
Yeah, so each year
having a mouthful of.
So for each year, I suppose, then you would see Dante sort of stop on the stairs, and he's not like leaving. He's definitely sort of like leaned up, just like against the post of the staircase, watching around.
I am up the stair. I'm not down the bottom though.
No, I mean though, like he's gone up the first few steps, but you're not like walking out of sight, sort of thing.
No.
You sort of he's about halfway up, leaning. Volu's obviously, joined in. What would you want to be doing in this moment?
Kind of like between the two, of like equidistant between Volu and Dante, of keeping an eye on Dante, but also like not letting Volu necessarily get swept away, kind of thing. Like if people somehow manage to pick him up and crowd surf him out of the tavern to a street party down the road, just being like, cool, I'm watching both of you, because that one is being emo and broody up a flight of stairs, and that one is celebrating the death race, which they really got into, and that's also kind of anxiety inducing.
I've never been known to go missing at a party, so it's fine.
There's first time for everything, first time to fall through a portal into another world.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd say that you probably approach the bar. That's sort of the middle ground between, and as you do, Alara would sort of say, "Drink, EG. It's on the house for our winners."
Oh, thank you. Just a light ale, if you have one.
That would coming right up. Any food?
I'm okay for now, thank you. But I might revisit that a little bit later.
Just let me know, darling. I'll sort you guys right out.
Thank you very much.
You would sort of see as you're sort of sat there, Alara's children. You see, she's got a son that's maybe they're both all human. A son that's maybe around 5, 6, and a daughter that's maybe 8, 9-ish, that sort of age. The daughter sort of sat, sort of like looking and sort of like looking you over, and the son just sort of like approaches and sort of like tugs a little bit at like one of your offshooty sprouts and is like, do these go all over?
Yes and no. Like they can be anywhere. For me, they're a little bit more like oh, I suppose like like how people have different facial hair and such. These are like those kind of things for me. And then I will kind of like put a hand down onto the ground and I will use my entangling growth to like cause some vines to like sprout up and kind of like wrap around him. But they also come in handy as well.
They like and like giggle as they're like wrapping around and they're like trying to wiggle the way out. I'd say that they probably aren't able, unless you obviously you're not going.
I'm
Yeah.
like I'm not actually trying to restrain this kid. I leave a few spots
Yeah,
that I clear like
there's like a moment where it's a little bit too wrapped around his ankle, and he's like, "It's got me, it's got me," and then and then his sister's just like, his sister you'd see is a bit more serious and just like get up and just like sort of like nudges him to get up. Um, but they were like, stop bothering them, Days, and go and play. And they sort of head back. You can see that they're not out in like the bar area, but they move behind the bar and go through to the kitchen, and you can sort of hear them sort of laughing and playing through back there. Ichi, and to be fair, I'm going to come to Volu in a second, but Ichi got me an insight.
Not good, not bad. 9. Yeah, no, not good.
Okay. Volu, as you're feasting and delighting and enjoying the revelry, you sort of feel like the bush as somebody sort of like down next to you. And as you look, there is a female looking furbolg. They look to be middle aged, slightly older than Eleni. And they go, that was a good race. Where did you learn to do that?
Oh, I've lived a life.
I mean, I know. They would actually just sort of like laugh a little bit and say, you did pick up a thing or two. When did you get so good at fibbing? And they're just sort of like looking at you like, but they're smiling.
It's not fibbing. I've been around. I've gone through a portal or two in my time. Picked up a few things.
Yes, that is true. And I suppose time is kind of wibbly wobbly in the Fae. Give me an insight. And they're still smiling. They're still just sort of like looking at you across the table.
Ten.
They're just like almost looking at you expectantly. As they're just like, oh, really, Volu? I know I've changed my face and such, but you should still recognize me. And they sort of, for a second, like lean close in, and their glamour drops from their face, and you see Thornil, who is a satyr who is a servant of Tanabori. As they lean back up and it reshifts up, I look quite good. No, I've never been one of a furbolg, I believe they're called. Fancy race. Met one in the forest before I got here.
At that point, Volley will kind of like mid-chew, just look, and then telepathy. How long have you been here?
That's not fair, Volu. You know I can't do that. How very rude to show off your talents. Not long. I've come to give you a message, actually. Tanabori is Little better. Still not doing so well. But she woke up the other day and asked me to deliver a message. Well, I say the other day again. Time is weird here. The sun goes all the way around and it goes dark at times. I don't really understand it, but um, it doesn't feel like long.
I'll carry on speaking in telepathy despite that. I think because yes, it is very different here. It took some time to get readjusted from when I was here before. So what was the message? Is she okay? Uh, uh, did she did she sound well?
Better than she's been in a long time. I don't we don't know why she woke. She said that you had done something. What have you? Well, partly I was kind of interested in what you've been doing, but I saw the race. Look at you.
I let off a little wry smile.
Who would have thought our little Volu? Chaotic Embers. What a name as well. Was that your idea or a group effort, maybe?
Uh, that's pretty heavily involved in the decision-making process.
Oh, Volu, you are funny. Um,
But
yes,
please
I mean,
tell me what the message was, please.
yeah, yes. Do not worry. Like I said, she woke. She said that she had seen you. You were doing something important here. Um, that I was to come and find out what you were doing, and I
Did
don't
she
know how
say a
long.
name?
No, there is some bits. I think we might need to go somewhere more private for some of it. But at the very least, I can tell you why she sent me. Um, she has been struggling to contact this plane. We do not know why. As you know, she has access and powers to many of the portals, and we do not think this is linked to her powers. Initially, she sent me here so that she has a fixed beacon of her energy. And they sort of show down. And you know this from your almost from memory. So they pull down, and there is a very bland looking necklace on the furball. You know that Tanabori's higher servants wear a gift, almost like a necklace gifted to them from her. Um, and it's almost, and again, she always explained it to you like you never got one because you don't work for her. You're your own person. You're like people that come into her servitude gain one of these items, and you never really asked or sorry, it got very cold in there all of a sudden. You never really asked much more about it, but you sort of knew that it was like her energy almost. Um, that is I don't know how long she's going to allow me to stay here. And then she asked me to yes deliver a message. Which I mean, if you wish to stay here, I could very easily write it down. And this is a very lovely party, by the way. I mean, it could do with a few more pixies, but beside the point.
Ain't no party like a pixie party, right?
Ain't no party like a pixie party.
That's a t-shirt.
Blue will lift his kind of apprehension a little bit. Hearing that Tanabori's actually moved
And
has kind of picked up his spirits a little bit.
And you would pick up generally that they don't see as much as Thornhill is always airy fairy light and flighty. That is just who they are. They don't seem stressed, right? They are genuinely as they lean back and pick up a glass from the side and take a drink, and they are genuinely enjoying their time in on the material plane.
Do you plan to go back anytime soon?
Well, I need to I need to head out to the forest every now and again, unless you haven't found a connected place out in the desert yet, are you? I'm not much for sand.
There was a portalish looking thing down in the mines, but I wasn't too sure about that. The woods was probably the best place to be. It was
I think
more.
I trust the woods more. I do, but I need to return there to deliver what I have found out, and then I will find out if I'm going to stay. Now that
Could we
now
meet
that
later? Could we meet later tonight, after when the festivities die down?
of course, of course. Um, your group, are they privy? Are they in the know? And I would say actually at this moment, Eleni would arrive into the extremely big, and there's almost, you guys notice it, not because you see, so Dante, you would see Eleni enter. Ichi, you probably wouldn't. And Volu, you wouldn't either, and neither does Thornhill, until the whole crowd, again, Elara sort of jumps up and goes, "The fourth member of the Chaotic Embers!" And people sort of turn, and they do cheer, but it's sort of lesser. They're like almost, they don't know, but they don't know who to look at. There's like 2 or 3 people by the door, and actually the person that was by the fourth person on the cart was hooded the entire time. Would you have kept your? Would you have changed your illusory? Because you illusioned it to have a hood.
I illusioned it to be black with a hood, and I
Mhm.
think I would have probably left it that way.
So
Especially if I was while I was skulking through the city as
Yeah.
well, and trying to stay out of
So
sight.
I will say that like it's more. So there's like it's less that people cheer less. It's more that there's a pause while they figure, and then a few 2 or 3 people go like, "The Furball God, yeah!" Like people do sort of cheer out, and everyone sort of as it appears one of your
With say when that kind of gets announced, you can see where I'm going to go with this, don't you?
and yes, they
Yep.
I would
don't move. They're just attention fix.
I would smile at people and then try to see if there's somewhere that I can walk behind a pillar, go through a doorway so that I can go invisible. I'm like, don't like this. I want to sort of.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for either an acrobatics or a strength because people are starting to mob again
Yeah.
as the excited. That people are a bit more drunk now. It's been a good half an hour to 40 minutes of people drinking and celebrating already.
It's a 22 acrobatics.
Okay, so what I'm actually going to say, Eleni, it's not that you move behind any pillar. As people start to mob in, you twist behind the first, duck behind the second, and it's as you're going under the second person that you just invisible, and they almost like pile into the door, assuming that you must have exited.
Actually, I can't. I
Okay.
haven't got any left. So I still would try and duck out the way and maybe.
Okay, so I'm gonna say with the 22, you maybe have forgotten and try, but almost like there's like that shudder invisibility of you immediately come back out. Give me a stealth as you've had this moment of them not knowing exactly where you are.
Oh,
Can I ask
No.
something?
Yeah, go on.
And to be fair, this might technically actually aid Eleni depending on what happens to her. Firstly, how is this place lit?
It's open flame, but it's like candles and there's like a candelabra and
Is there like any that are near that table?
yeah.
Can I make the candelabra like just crash, like fall down and crash over with telekinesis? Like push it or undo something?
Yes, you definitely can. So
I'm physically not moving.
Yeah. What I'm going to ask for, and this isn't about whether it'll work or not, either a performance or a deception to play, because realistically, if you're doing it, you should be focusing on it and looking at it, and you're trying to do this surreptitiously. So I'm going to ask for that for the general, but it's going to work. You're going to be able to do it regardless. Eleni, you literally duck, go to roll into like moving position, and come face to face with the 6-year-old, like also on his hands and knees in between the crowd, and he's just like,
21.
and as there's that, like, you pause, he pauses. There's a as the candelabra to the right on for Ichi, it's on your left. So obviously you two are sort of facing either side of the room of each other. Bottom left corner, the candelabra just fell, slams down. Okay, one of the people that was sat there like shit and dives to the side. One of them doesn't see it coming at all and just like takes a candelabra to their head and like collapses on the table. They seem to like they're like holding their head and still moving, but they're like, oh.
So what if that happens and everybody looks away, and I'm on my hands and knees in front of the 6-year-old?
Mhm.
I'm going to go, and I'm going to cast disguise self on myself, and I'm going to use my Furbolg version, which means I can get smaller by about 3 feet. So I'm going to turn into a short-looking human. I'm just going to change what I look like.
And again, the whole time he's just like,
yeah, but I'm
and,
just
and,
like,
and he just freeze. He's just not making a sound. He's just like,
and then I would just get up and nonchalantly make my way through the crowd.
okay, they are gonna try and follow you. They're like the child is like, I need to stay with them. I'm gonna lose them. And they're like, you hear they're like,
and I wouldn't be bothered by that, and I'd even maybe look down at him and wink. but yeah, it just like me and you are in on the secret, but no one else is. Like,
and I'd say sort of as you're getting to the bar and like they're getting, they would run behind the bar and they'd be like, mommy, nothing, and they're like run into the kitchen.
What's happened to the people that were on that table?
So the guy that what are the others doing? Is the crowd is like, oh my god, like, and people do start trying to help them. The guy that was hit, people sort of like under each arm, and the one of them, the one that dodged sort of goes like, would somebody please just help me take him to find a cleric maybe, or he looks kind of injured. He's sort of like, and again they're like, this in like common bars, they don't just assume clerics are sat around, right? Like, it's not, if this is just like a local place, you wouldn't be like, is anybody in here a magic user? You would see Dana runs over and says, I have some basic medical equipment and some salves at my place. I'm more than happy to help. What are you two? Let me go to very quickly, Dante. Sorry, let me go to Volu and Ichi, what they were doing in that meantime, and then I will quickly flip back to you. You are muted. Sorry.
I'm gonna go first, Ichi.
By all means.
I'm saying, would you like?
Oh,
to go first?
I thought you said, "Do you want me to go first?"
No.
He did. He meant you.
I think Ichi is going to first of all, like, hearing the like kind of like thing draws their attention as it did everyone in the room. But also due to Ichi's like awareness of who's in the room, do I notice, because like, and forgive me if I misheard, like Dante tried to cause that, right? Like,
so yeah, I did it. However, I was
you wouldn't have picked up that it
was. I wouldn't have picked up it was Dante, but do I notice smoke come off the rope?
Doesn't actually look like smoke. It doesn't. It's not like it burned. And actually, looking at it, Ichi, the top of this candelabra is a hook. So it's almost like it was hooked in to something.
Okay, cool. Then in that case, Ichi just immediately kind of like looks over to like the commotion, lets that kind of like briefly overwhelm them, and then kind of tries to again like track again and keep eyes on Dante and Volu, like
if he looks at me, I'm going to give him the quickest glance and just kind of go,
Okay, and Volu, what are you doing as Ichi's trying to decrypt
So
cryptic messages?
we were talking about people being in the know. I'll switch. Would have been switching between telepathy and talking, depending just the natural
Yeah.
flow of the conversation. That point, telepathy. I can talk about it in full later. Meet me outside when it's all died down and it's dark, and we can talk one-on-one. For now, it was really nice to see you. And then I'll turn, go to the guy that's been hit by the chandelier, and cast Cure Wounds on him.
Okay, and as you're going, like they'll just be like, oh, he's such a hero, and then they like go over towards the bar. And each you would see this Furbolg. You would not have noticed that they were sat specifically with Volu, but a Furbolg, again middle aged. They're wearing sort of nice, dressy robes. They've got like almost purposefully so longer fur around their head and scalp, so it almost joins into their hair in more bulk, if that makes sense. And they just take a seat up at the bar and grab one of the free drinks that is just sort of nobody's paying any attention to right now at the bar.
Minesweeper.
For sure. They don't know the fucking rules. They don't know that this is paid for. They've just been taking shit this whole time. Nobody said anything.
That like in a distant city somewhere, there's a massive wanted poster of this one guy. This is like wanted for grand larceny.
There are farmers that think there is a local apple thief at the moment because all the apple trees in one row
Not
got
me.
picked. There's free apples. Amazing.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, literally.
That one farm was just there like, the harvest is ruined.
Yeah, honestly, I've really loved thinking about how somebody that's not from this plane would interpret the societal rules that we have. And it's like, why can we pick from those berries and not from those trees? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway, I digress. They sort of come up and say, you move over and heal him. They would
18 points.
Okay, yep. You would, and obviously Dante and H, you can see Volu move over. You would see the sort of flash of energy as they. Oh, thank you, little one. I appreciate the assistance, though. My head is really hurting. I think an early night, perhaps, father. And he looks over to the person that he was with, and they're like, yes, I think that might be best. And they sort of they people sort of again it almost they're not full that sort of slow return back to talking as like it's not that everybody just forgets and goes back to partying. It's sort of like okay, seems okay. Dana does sort of say let me come with you. I will Laura, I will be back in a moment. And they sort of leave.
As they're like practically say because they thank me, I'll be like no, it's no trouble at all. If you need anything anymore then I'm more than happy to help. Did you come for us? It'd be good to know the person who I've just helped.
It was sort of no, we come in here all the time. And you would see if the like people, no one around like challenges it. You know what I mean? Like nobody specifically is like, no, you don't. There's nobody that's like, that nobody. What I would say is that nobody's specifically been really sat with them, if that makes sense. It's not like they were, and they didn't really seem like they were part of the festivities. And they say, but what is your? I know that you are part of the Chaotic Embers, but what is your name?
Oh, I am. You might have seen me in the weaving competition. I know it got ended earlier, but I was pretty like guaranteed to win it if you looked at the pictures. My name is Clovis. Clovis Not Wise.
Nice to meet you. They will extend a hand. I'm Kanda.
Did you? Sorry, you broke up there, Liam. Kanda.
Kanda, yeah, Candeer. And they would shake your hand, but then they would sort of say, I bid you good night. And they will sort of turn. And because you will see, you did pretty much heal them to full, but they did still, I also
Get
think about
complimented,
the getting injured and then healed while drunk, while a little drunk might feel pretty weird.
Does it
head
sober
rushing.
you up, or does it?
Well, it's not cure poison, so it doesn't sober you up. But cure poison is a funny way to ruin someone's night.
Also greater, also like lesser restoration of being like, oh, all that gold you've spelt to fill this buzz. But
Yeah, just like the evil druid that just goes around parties ruining people's buzz. I like the idea as well that he does it by coming in and just talking about like the forest and we need to save the trees, man. And like they just through that conversation, he just cures them of their neutralizes their poisons.
Or at least like walks over to them and like mid conversation cures poison on their drink so that they turn it like non-alcoholic.
Yeah, that is actually worse. Just touching
Like a reverse Jesus.
The powder kegs and just like the actual like barrels and just being like non-alcoholic. No. But yeah, sorry. So they will exit and the festivities would begin to resume. Eleni, you would be able to make it straight to the bar, and I would say that you can fully get stood up near Ichi because he's not looking for a short human. Ichi, you would see a short human in sort of like a leather jacket and such sort of approach. And again, Eleni, as she could come up, you would see Dante on the stairs.
I would take a good long look at Dante and just see whether he looks any happier than he did earlier on, which I'm assuming he doesn't.
No, his gaze at the moment is pretty fixed on the door.
Okay. And then I would turn to Ichi and say, and I'm using my own voice. So I'll just turn to Ichi and say, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call it an early night.
Ichi just has a heart attack. Like there's trying to decipher what Dante's little like nod is, watching Volu go running across to help another person. Suddenly this regular dude is talking at me in Eleni's voice.
And I'm just gonna be like, will you let Clovis know for me? And then I'll pick up my drink and I will head up the stairs.
Of course.
Yeah, and Eleni, you would then sort of walk up and past. I'd say that Dante, you saw this human speak. You wouldn't have heard what they were saying, but you saw them walk up to Ichi and say something. And now they're walking up past you on the stairs.
My insight and perception is pretty shit.
Yeah,
so,
and
like even
Dante's sort of staring out, I think, into the crowd more than they are.
As I go back behind Dante because he's staring out, I would just say, cheer up, nobody died. And I'm going to sort of go up to my room.
Both me and Dante are like, who the fuck is this guy?
Also, we just finished a death race. So. Many people died.
Well, yes, but, you know.
Dante actually does react to you there.
Okay.
Like, he's startled, wasn't expecting that.
I don't touch you, by the way, in any way.
No, it's fine. But it was your voice. It was just because it is still your voice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still my voice.
Eleni.
I would stop and look.
Someone was here looking for you.
Who?
And it's just going to look.
Is where we are going to end this week's session.
Damn it! Fuck!
Thank you all for playing. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you're enjoying the adventure so far, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you know when the videos are coming out. And as always, roll well. Bye.